Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show.
All right, Sixers fans, welcome into another episode of Planet 76 podcast. I'm one of your hosts for the show. My name's Troy. This is episode 170 of the podcast. And first one in a little bit, but there is plenty to get into regarding the 76ers. I think an appropriate title for the episode is that this has been a roller coaster of emotions as of late for the Sixers. Joel Embiid did make his return to the floor tonight for the first time in about a month in the Sixers win over the Dallas Mavericks at home. Joel Embiid did have a triple-double in this one. Pretty remarkable considering hasn't played, practiced very, very, very limited, and yet he comes out and gets a 29-point triple-double in the win against the Dallas Mavericks. Also making headlines today is the Sixers did trade, this February 4th, Sixers did trade for Quentin Grimes of the Dallas Mavericks. Their second move, in case you don't know, Luka Doncic, late Saturday night, was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and a couple other pieces, but man, that's wild. Anyway, Sixers get Quentin Grimes, who's averaging 10 on the season with Dallas in 47 games. You might remember him a little bit early in his career as a rookie, second-year player, third-year player with the Knicks. But he's just 24 years old, averaging 10 points and shooting around almost 40% from three on four attempts, over 4 attempts a game. So obviously the Sixers saw a need for something, shooting, and that maybe Quentin Grimes can provide some of that off the bench. And they send off Caleb Martin, who signed a favorable deal for the Sixers in the offseason and then has been injured and other things. And his most notable game was the Christmas Day performance against the Celtics. A couple other games he's been good, but hasn't fully panned out. Again, a lot of that's due to injuries and the inconsistency across the board for the Sixers, on their roster this season. A little disappointed to see him go, but Quentin Grimes, will welcome him and a second-round pick for Caleb Martin as the trade deadline looms large. I don't know what other moves the Sixers are going to make. The report, too, was KJ Martin was inactive tonight with a pending trade, whatever that means, so keep an eye out for that. Probably by the time you're listening to it, you might know what that trade might be. We're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey and a little bit more about Joel Embiid, and then talk about a bad stretch for the Sixers, a good stretch for the Sixers, and what I call a sad 2-game stretch for the Sixers that they've just recently been in. So that's where we're going to go toward the later end of the episode. A bad stretch, a good stretch, and then a sad stretch. Not good, bad, ugly, but a sad one for the Sixers. And so, but first, again, Quentin Grimes, Caleb Martin's gone. KJ Martin likely being shopped. Who knows what else the Sixers are going to do? But I think a lot of these things that the Sixers are doing or might do or are considering even is due to the play of Guerschon Yabusele, who is playing unbelievably well as of late. He's been very, very good for the Sixers all season. Consistent piece, been in the lineup. But man, his last 3 games against Denver, Boston, and Dallas, he had a 28-point performance against Denver, shooting 70% from the floor, knocked down 4 threes. He had 21 points against Boston, shooting 61% from the floor. And then tonight against Dallas, he was 7 for 8 from the field. Didn't even hit a 3 in this one, but had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and he's in the starting lineup alongside Joel Embiid, who again returned to action tonight. So Guerschon has been sensational, and it's not just those last 3 games. Through the month of January, he averaged almost 13 points a game. Early going into February, he's at 21 points a game. He's just been very, very, very good. And so I think as the Sixers trend hopefully toward getting healthy, and then you got Caleb Martin, you got KJ Martin, where are they going to fit? You still have Guerschon, and Guerschon has solidified himself not only as like he's not a superstar, right? Like we get that, but he has a role to play. He's not losing his job 100%. And so there's not enough minutes to go around. Well, it's funny because Sixers have been so unhealthy, so inconsistent all year. But if you think about toward the preferred future of what they might be, and Guerschon's healthy, Embiid's healthy, Paul George is healthy, like there's not enough minutes for these other guys, and so why not go get a Quentin Grimes? I think a lot of that is linked, even though, Caleb Martin and Guerschon are different players. Caleb Martin was viewed as going to be in the starting lineup and was for stretches this season, but Guerschon has stepped in. Kelly Oubre is in the lineup, and Sixers, when they're healthy, will likely be rolling out a lineup that tonight was just missing Paul George, and in his place was Justin Edwards, who's been playing very well. He's the second piece I wanted to talk about. The rookie Justin Edwards has been very good. He had 38 minutes tonight, had 16 points. Again, in the starting lineup alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. He had 12 against Boston, 9 against Denver, 9 against Sacramento. Had a 15-point performance against Cleveland way back when. He had 25 in that very Sixers shorthanded game against the Thunder at home, on the 14th of January. But he's just been very, very good. And I think the more minutes he gets, the more comfortable he's going to be. And so, again, if you throw him into some lineups, and he's a key piece off the bench now that no one maybe would have expected, where are these minutes going to come for these other guys that the Sixers might be shopping? And so, why not? Again, Quentin Grimes is a welcome addition because he can shoot the rock. He's shooting nearly 40% on the season. He's a young guy. He's averaging 10 points in Dallas, and he's been in the lineup. He's been healthy, been good. So that's a welcome addition. You like to see that that's kind of a different kind of thing than what the Sixers already have with a lot of this like wing depth. Now you get just a guard off the bench that can really, really shoot the basketball. So that's a welcome addition. And I think, again, Guerschon and Justin Edwards playing so well in the absence of some of these other guys points to some of the moves we are seeing and might see as the deadline gets closer and all of that. So Tyrese Maxey, though, again, going to talk about Tyrese, Joel, and then these few stretches the Sixers have been in. Tyrese Maxey has been incredible, keeping the team afloat. Did not make the All-Star game somehow, whatever. There's a lot of guys in the East and the West that deserved a spot probably, but not enough spots to go around. It is what it is. So 15 straight games of 25 or more points for Tyrese Maxey. I believe he's only joined Joel and Allen Iverson who have done that a couple times, and that's it. 15 straight games of 25 or more points. He's helping this team stay afloat somewhat, right? They're only 20 and 29, but they're right there as far as getting into the play-in, and there's still a lot of basketball to be played. So who knows what could happen, but Tyrese Maxey has been so good, especially over these last 15 games, in the absence of Joel, in the absence of Paul George, who should be back soon, we would hope. But again, Joel tonight, 29, 11, and 10 in the win versus the Mavericks, and it's just so easy to see why he is so important to have on the floor. So clear, so clear. Night and day difference between what this team is without him and what this team can be with him. So you just hope that he can continue to be in the lineup, hope that he can continue to play well, and help get this Sixers team into the playoffs. And, Michael and I have said it on this very podcast, probably even in the offseason, saying, okay, record, seed, whatever. Obviously, you want to avoid the play-in if you can, but if this team is healthy in the playoffs, which I realize is a huge if because they have not been healthy once all season long, but if they're healthy, if Tyrese is playing how he's playing, if Joel is in there, if Paul George is healthy and doing what he's capable of, and those other core guys that we've already mentioned, again, Kelly Oubre's huge. Guerschon is massively important to this team, and he's one of those pieces that has helped the team stay afloat. If those things happen, you got to be happy heading into the playoffs, considering what this season has been. All right, let's talk about the last 14 games for the Sixers, so just short of that Maxey 15-game stretch. But over the last 14 games, there's been 3 kind of stretches that the Sixers have been in that I've kind of taken a notice to. It's pretty simple if you just look at their wins and losses. So Sixers went on a 7-game losing streak back in mid to late January. 7-game losing streak. just wasn't pretty. They fell to 15-27 overall, losses to New Orleans, Orlando, Oklahoma City, the Knicks, the Pacers, the Bucks, and Denver. Some of those you understand, especially without Joel and Paul George, but some of those, man, they just stung a little bit with an overtime loss to New York, close loss to Orlando, comeback that failed, at the end against Oklahoma City. So it stung. It was a bad stretch. Two superstars aren't out there. We get it. Not a good stretch. Second stretch I want to talk about is a good stretch where they won 4 straight. They beat Cleveland. Paul George had 30. They beat Chicago. Maxey had 31. Maxey had 43 in a win against the Lakers. Maxey had 30 in a win against the Sacramento Kings. And so they follow up a 7-game losing stretch with a 4-game winning streak to improve to 19-27. And then it's like, okay, Sixers are getting hot again. Joel Embiid's going to be back soon. And then we get to a little sad stretch, is what I call it. Just a 2-game skid that the Sixers had at home. You're riding a wave, a little momentum. Then they lose to Denver by 3, a game they could have won, back and forth. And Jokic just took over at the end. I don't even know, scored 8 or 9 straight literally at the end and won it for them. And then they blow a huge lead at home to Boston on Sunday night, losing 118-110. Maxey had 34 in that one, 42 against Denver in these losses. But, really, the last 2 NBA champions, really, really good opportunities to win at home without Paul George, without Joel Embiid. We get it. But they couldn't get the job done. And so that was just a little heartbreaking, especially the way they lost those games in, that particular fashion. Now, again, Tuesday night, Sixers do bounce back against the Luka-less Dallas Mavericks, 118-116. They get the win to improve to 20-29. Long story short, it's good to have Joel back. Just got to keep stacking wins. We talked about this earlier in the season, and it's ever more important now as you get closer to the postseason. You got to stack wins. You got to put yourself in position to at least make the play-in, if not better, and let the chips fall where they may and see what the Sixers can do. So upcoming schedule real quick. Miami tomorrow night, second half of back-to-back. Joel Embiid will not play in that one. And then Friday, hitting the road for a matchup with the Detroit Pistons, Tobias Harris and the Detroit Pistons. And then Sunday at Milwaukee. I think it's a 2 p.m. Eastern tip because there is another game that's important to Philadelphia sports fans that night with the Super Bowl. So we'll see how the Eagles fare against the Kansas City Chiefs. But anyway, this is Planet 76, episode 170. Again, title, Rollercoaster of Emotions through that bad stretch, good stretch, and sad stretch. Joel Embiid returns tonight. There's hope for the Sixers. We'll see how they fare over these next coming games as they hit the road for Detroit and Milwaukee. We'll see you next time on Planet 76.
You just listened to an episode of the Planet 76 podcast. Hey, we appreciate you joining us for this episode. Whatever platform you're on, why don't you hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time.